Hey, what up? It's your girl Ashley. I'll be ballin', and today we're gonna do a movie review on KUROKO'S basketball last game. It's a great anime film. As you can see in the background, that's the team, and I'm gonna do a little bit of the Jabberwocky poem, and I'm also gonna ask, you and the audience, who do some of these players remind you of? And who and like also if you had an ability, like one of their abilities, which ability would it be? And different things like that. But before we begin, I want to introduce my guest, Road to William. What up?
What up? What up? What up?
Tell them where
Mm.
they can find you on social media and talk about your, YouTube channel, Road to William.
Yo, Road to William for everything. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and I'm on Twitch now if you want to see me play online. And so, yeah, that's where to find me. And, I just be exploring life and sharing what I find with y'all. So come find out what I found, and hopefully you can continue the journey with me.
Okay. Continue the journey. Get on the road on any vehicle. Explore. Take adventures with the Road to William. Hey. So I was watching this movie on Netflix and I really liked it. I was like, ooh, anime. This is pretty nice. This is pretty nice. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Pokemon, a little bit of Speed Racer, a little bit of video games, NBA 2K, right? But also NBA Ballers. Um, but what I like to do with movie reviews is if you could describe this movie in one word, what would it be? Because the movie is about, so it starts off with this American team versus, Japanese team. And the American team, right? They're called the Jabberwocks. And, after they flop the floor with the Japanese team, they start talking trash, as, you know, a lot of, a lot of ballers talk trash, calling them monkeys and, you know, saying, they shouldn't even play basketball, and that's when the, GOM or Generation of Miracles with, Kuroko, they um formed the team Vorpal Sword. And that's, when the action really begins, yeah, I mean? So if you could describe this movie in one word, what would it be? I'll just say two words. I will say gifted, but I will also say underdogs because a lot of them show off their different gifts, their different, even the villains, or protagonists of the story, everybody showed off their gifts, but also everybody underestimated, each other, in my opinion, right? I feel like, of course, there was villains named, Nash Gold Jr. and, Silver, that was the Americans. They were underestimating the Japanese players you and calling them names. And they was like, we're worthy to play too, and we're gonna show you, right? I feel like both teams underestimated each other, and even some of the teammates underestimated each other too. And I feel like this story is about underdogs, you know, rising up. And I feel like, uh, it was about showcasing gifts, but also, when you're underestimated, overlooked, oh, sort of like a misfit. Oh, I was, I went to church the other day and they were like, God uses misfits, overlooked, but not counted out, everything's tying back. Okay, everything's tying back. But so that would be my word. Like, everyone has gifts, even the villains. If you notice, the Jabberwocks, they looked it older than they, said they were. Also, they looked it a lot bigger too. And so that's also why, you know, the team was underestimated, because of your size or how you look, right? So that would be my word or words. What would your word be to describe this movie?
My word would be communication because they had to talk through like what they wanted to do before they really went on the court. And I think that's what gets overlooked too. Is like it's not just about being on that court and passing the ball and shooting, and making points and winning. It's about what happens before that and how like you have to plan with your teammates. It wasn't even about the coaches. I feel like when we watch a lot of movies with basketball or even sports in general, it's like the two top highlighted players and then like the coaches. And I feel like this movie showcased more of the players and what the players got to do. Um, because all the coaches really there is to like guide you and give you advice, but really if you don't talk to your teammates, you're gonna just scramble all over the place and you need to lock in. Like when we play 2K and stuff, like I like to play online a lot because um you get to learn. You got every game is a new game to learn and to grow. And I think this was just a game that was highlighted to showcase what it really takes when you're playing basketball and how I liked how they got tired and stuff. Like you said, they were underestimating them, but learning how to pace yourself throughout a game. And I also liked how they had the audience. What I gave it gave like what an audience would typically say at a game and how they feel and emotions. So yeah, that would be my word communication though, for
Yeah,
sure.
that's a good one. That was a good one because everybody was communicating, whether it was, game plans, adjustments, you know. And yes, the crowd, I did like the crowd, their, anticipation and their scaredness. It's kind of like, you know, how you feel as a fan, the ups and downs and the roller coasters of the games. Oh no, and the shock, you know. So that was cool. Do you have like a favorite part of the movie, like a favorite scene that you really enjoyed and stuck out to you?
Yeah, it was at the end, very end, where I don't know the names like that, but it was the two characters, and Kuroko is one of them, but the guy who came up to him, I forgot his name, but he kind of just put his ego aside and really told him that like if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't be the person he was, the player he was. And I think that was a good message just to be like, um, just humbling yourself before someone you respect just to let them know. I think that's what happens in life sometimes, but that it reminds you not to just live off of that. Um, but how Kuroko received it was good too, was because he could have just had his ego lifted even higher, but he also put his ego aside. Come to the differences. Heart Part 6, Kendrick Lamar. I'm just saying. But yeah, that was probably my favorite scene. Um, even after they won, I like that it was that they won instead of if they lost and like that's kind of like pity. but they won and he still gave him that respect. So I like that a lot.
Calm, calm. I think all of my favorite scenes were like a lot of the effects that I saw. Like, I like the player sweating and passes, and it was almost like energy. You could see the energy passing, and you saw, it was sort of like electricity or fire, and you could see their different eyes. When um they got into the zone, they called it, right, because every player, you know, you hear players saying, "Hey, I'm in the zone," you can't miss, and uh, they were talking about different abilities they had, like the Emperor Eye, and um, but also I did like the trash talk back and forth, like you can't see me. Oh, I'm about to do this. Nope. I liked all the block shots. I liked all the dunks, but it was like slow motion, but also it was kind of like photos too. And there was like different flashbacks. So I liked all the action. All the senses were like hyper activated, the breathing, and you could see the veins popping out. And so I liked all the even the sound effects. Like there was like rock playing, but there was also like a choir playing. I liked all the dribbling moves. Also, oh, what I'm gonna do is so there's poem called Jabberwocky, and that's how they picked the name Vorpal sword, right? And that means sharpness, deadliness. And so I'm gonna read a little bit of that poem. It's by Lewis Carroll. I'm not gonna read the whole thing though. I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but it's basically about, evil creature, Jabberwocky, right? And that's who they needed to defeat. So it says, beware the Jabberwocky, my son, the jaws that bite, claws that catch. Beware the Jube bird, and shun the verminous gendering snatch. He took his Vorpal sword in hand, long time. Well, that's all I'll say. But basically, that's how they got the names. And I thought that was pretty cool. Did you have like a basketball player in mind that, hey, this reminded me of this ball player? Or because I feel like Kuroko, I feel like he was sort of like a pass first point guard, like Steve Nash, Chris Paul, John Stockton. If and you can tell he's the shortest, so his skills was like passing, team player, teamwork, and I liked how they used all their teamworks, and you could see shadows, and you could see when they were in sync, moving all in sync, and enhancing things. And it's sort of like NBA 2K where you power up different levels and you can use like the takeover and you could press takeover after you accomplish certain things, but you can only have this takeover for like 6 minutes in the game. And so your attributes are more higher in the game for a certain amount of time. So I like that part. Do you have any players that came to mind when you were watching the characters?
One of them definitely reminded me of Shaq, and just the
Yeah,
hungerness of the game.
yeah,
I also like I kind of like some of the opposing players more than the other ones,
yeah,
because they were kind of like giving it their all, but it's something they love to do, and you could tell they took it serious. So they felt like, okay, this ain't something we just do as a hobby. This is what we do all day. So I like that energy. You need that. You don't want like a weak team and it's easy to beat them and it's like this you're riding off this success. And you're like, no, greats become greats because they beat another great.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like a lot of the players resembled, you can say Shaq, like you said, like the tall one with the sling, he got injured with the purple hair. He's like dominant, The green, the 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 one with the green hair was like sharpshooter. I feel like the green haired dude was like almost like how you have in 2K a perfect release, a perfect shot release that you rarely can have. Yeah, that's what that reminded me of. But yeah, it reminded me of like Magic Johnson with the passing, Michael Jordan, LeBron. It reminded me of all these different abilities, whether it's dunking from the free throw line and, the athleticism, the passing, the shooting, the defense. Oh, you don't really see defense being played in real life or in a movie. So that defense was
Yeah,
stifling. That was good
that is
defense,
true. It was.
So I really like that. So overall, how would you rate this and like what's the overall message? Uh, I would give it definitely a high A/B. You know, they also have a series that follows it's Kuroko basketball. It has like 3 seasons when they're like in middle school and stuff. And there's different drama, basketball drama and personal drama. And you see them grow up. So that's cool. But overall, I think it was about working together as a team, using each other's abilities and overcoming doubts that the other team has about you. Like, oh, can't believe he did that. Yeah, believe it, son. But overall, I give it a high A, high B, in between there. What would you do?
Um,
You have less than a minute.
well, I think the message was, working together despite differences you may have behind the scenes, because ultimately you want to win the game. But don't ever underestimate your opponent. And
Okay.
I'd definitely give it like a solid A, because there was times I was a little bored. But
Mm.
I'm shocked. I give it an A because I usually don't watch anime like that. I only got a handful of anime in my hand. But this is definitely one of them, and I do want to explore more for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch more. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Go to the road to William and stay ballin'.